Pretty interesting.
It was. Good evening. Sorry, hello and good evening, daytime. Who knows? Because I'm in New Zealand. My friend joining me is in the States. It's probably evening for him. It's morning or lunchtime for me. But welcome to post-match reaction to Glendale Raptors versus Austin Elite. Glendale Raptors came out on top 41-26, and we'll go through all of the hot action. I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, a podcast, YouTube channel, Twitter account, and website bringing you the best in rugby news and predictions. And joining me for this, all the way from the States, is Rob. How are you doing, sir?
Good. How are you, sir?
I'm very good, thank you. And I've just gone blank. I should know your Twitter account, but yes, the man, what is it again? North America Rugby? I think Rugby North America. There we go. Nearly got it right around. So you must be over the moon that this Major League Rugby has sort of kicked off and had 2 successful games already.
Yeah. You know, I'm gonna try to stay as positive as possible, because waking up this morning, I was absolutely looking forward to the games. You know, the actual quality of the play probably left a little bit to be desired. Lots of sloppiness, especially in the game that we watched. But just the fact that we've got a competition in America that actually has a fighting chance at survival, at thriving, at feeding the Eagles. You know, I'm definitely over the moon that we've got that. There's no question about that.
And on CBS, so I mean, actually on proper TV, you can actually watch it. You don't have to go and find some dodgy streaming site anymore.
Yeah, dodgy streaming site behind a paywall. Yes.
Yes. So for anyone who's just jumping on here, for the international followers, you can catch all the Major League Rugby games on Facebook Live, which is how I've just watched it. And this game, it looked cold. I mean, there's snow all around the pitch, a bit of rain. Considering that, it's perhaps not surprising there's some cold hands and some poor handling in this game.
True. You know, we've had sort of a late winter here in the States, and in most of the states, it's 80 where I'm sitting in California today. But in Colorado, it's you know, the weather's been a bit rough. So sure, between that and the fact that, you know, this is everyone's first time out, there's definitely a get to know you period.
Absolutely. I mean, and I guess some people should know that. So, for example, Todd Clever was on the bench for the Austin Elite, and he hadn't played any preseason games. I don't think he just suited up. I heard them mention that another player who was on one of the benches had flown in from the Hong Kong Sevens. So you're right. Not even though they have had 3 or 4 weeks of preseason games, which people have probably been watching and keeping track of, not all the players have been involved in that. There have been some late call-ups as well because of injuries and stuff.
True, and I think, you know, Austin is probably the primary example of that in the entire comp. So Todd Clever had said he wasn't going to play. He had insisted for months and months he wouldn't be on the roster. When they interviewed him just after the half, you saw him say, you know, because of injuries in the forward pack, he decided he'd join up. I think the broadcasters mentioned that Austin was without 5 forwards in their entire front row. So, you know, I think that they're actually going to be one of the better teams as we move along, but certainly they were shorthanded today. Yeah,
absolutely. And they did struggle at scrum time sometimes. They held their own occasionally, and that's when they got sort of good ball in that first half. Is off the platform of a solid scrum. And we saw them really attacking that sort of 13 channel to great effect with the 2 brothers. And I've just gone blank as to their names.
Somiola.
Yeah, the Somiola brothers, Andrew and Ronald.
Right.
Yeah, immense in that first half, attacking that 13 channel to good effect. 2 breaks. One of them ended up with a try.
Yeah, and those 2 guys controlled the.
So you're breaking up a little bit there on that one. Those 2 guys controlled ball going forwards, but they also did well defensively as well. They led the line, got in the hard hits.
So
okay, unfortunately, we seem to have having some technical issues. Hopefully, Rob will be back in a second. Okay, just hopefully we'll get Rob back soon. And for those of you listening on so I'll probably chop this out for the podcast. Let's hope we can get Rob back. No, we're going to get Rob back. That doesn't look like it. So I'll it's going in and out, unfortunately.
Probably a big no.
Okay, so yeah, both the Suniola brothers did well. Rob, good to have you back. I'll chop that bit out of the podcast. So let's go back and start again on the Suniola brothers.
Oh, so the Suniola brothers, yeah, they controlled the first 15 minutes of the match, and then things went completely awry for Austin for the next half hour or so, and the match was decided in that half hour. You know, the Suniola brothers are probably one of the better center pairings in the comp. And I was really surprised that that even with all the injuries that Austin had up front, that they were dominated as thoroughly as they were for the first 45 or 50 minutes of that match.
Well, and one of the talking points out of this game is going to be hydration breaks. And I put in the air quotes there for those listening on the podcast. So, yeah, as you say, they ran the game well for the first 15, 20 minutes. And that's when we had the hydration break, where the referee said, "Sorry, guys, I've got to stop play for hydration." Indeed. And everyone's like, "What do you mean hydration? There's snow on the ground. This is not a hot, humid game. This is a freezing cold one." And all the players are like, "What do you mean it's hydration break?" Clearly, this wasn't a hydration break. This was a commercial break for the TV, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah. So I don't know, but the two sort of quirks in the administration of the game that I thought were fairly interesting were the fact that there was no TMO, combined with the fact that there were these TV timeouts. You know, TV timeouts in sporting events are sort of an American pastime. We have them all of the time in basketball. We have them all of the time in football. It's on that level, I'm not surprised they've introduced them here. But for a growing sport like rugby and a league that is just getting started, I'm sure the broadcast partner CBS had some say in the fact that there's a water break. But even that aside, boy, that's a really bad idea. They need to keep the flow of the game going. You need to be able to turn into a rugby match just like you do everywhere else in the world and watch 40 minutes of rugby without a commercial break. Get your commercials in at halftime. You know, get your sponsors in on the kits, put them on the field, put them on the ribbon scoreboards around the pitch like they do everywhere else in the world. That's all fine. I'm happy to trade that for a free-flowing game. The water break thing, boy, I was as flummoxed as the players when I saw it the first time. Even the players didn't they didn't know it was coming.
Oh, the players were totally shocked. Yeah, they clearly had no idea it was coming. It's only when I actually look at my notes I realized actually that's where the break happened and where Glendale actually got themselves. Right. They meant the coach could come on the pitch. It gave them. He managed to sort things out, and basically they took control from there on in. It was interesting. They wanted to clearly get themselves on the scoreboard because they kicked their first scrum penalty, but after that, all their penalties were pretty much kicked towards the corner until the end. So clearly, they wanted to get themselves on the scoreboard with that kick, and then add to it.
They did, and I mean, I thought for that middle period of the game, the domination was thorough. They were kicking the ball to the corner and scoring. They were driving Ben Landry right through the middle and scoring. I mean, any which way that they wanted to play, they were playing for a half's worth of the match, and that was plenty at the end of the day. Even at the end when they've got 12 players, it was plenty.
It was, and basically the difference between that first 15 minutes and the next bit was they didn't drop the ball as often because throughout the entire game, Austin couldn't put phases together. Glendale could, and when Glendale were dropping the ball, they weren't getting points. Once they kept hold of the ball and weren't turning it over, they picked up points basically. And as you say, they got the penalty on 20 minutes, then 32 minutes we had a try, 36 minutes we had a try, and then a try in half time as well. And that basically sealed the game for the Raptors. One thing actually we've missed because early on we had something that was going to be obviously something we were going to see towards the end, but we saw an early card. This referee was more than happy to blow the whistle and call cards Yeah, but Austin survived that card on 4 minutes. Sorry, on 2 minutes. It was the card. Was on their lock number 4 for a no arms tackle, and yeah, Austin survived that 10 minutes very well.
They did, and as you mentioned, the referee, I think his hands were cold. He kept going to his pocket. He just wanted to put that hand in that pocket, and he wanted to leave it there for a while. I'm on the one hand, it was sort of a ragtag game in the sense that it was a first match in a new competition. On the other hand, the fact that you had by the end there, but almost a half dozen cards. Our friend, the official, might have been a little overzealous. But yeah, I mean, again, Austin, the first 15 minutes and the last 25 or so, Austin won that match. But unfortunately, the middle 40 or so, that counts as well, doesn't it?
I'd say it does. And that took us to halftime. I'd say that 24-7 lead, and you did think it was going to blow out, and it kind of did early in the second half. Austin again kept their managed to put their phases together, and I can't even read my own writing here. And managed to get themselves an early try on 45 minutes. I've forgotten who that was now. And then on 46 minutes, we got a yellow card for throwing the ball away. Now, I don't mind all the other yellow cards, but this one did seem a bit harsh.
Yeah, again, this is where our friend the official was a bit overzealous. How many times and how many matches and how many places around the world do you see a guy, toss the ball away for whatever reason? You just move on. I had a yellow card for it. I mean, even a penalty for it seems excessive.
The only time I can think about it is maybe about 6 years ago. Drew Mitchell got done for it. He had been warned beforehand, and that was his second yellow card, and he got a red card for it. So
that's just it. You remember it, right? That's how infrequent it is and how sort of out of the ordinary it should be.
Absolutely. So they got the yellow card, and they quickly wrapped around the front of the line out exactly where that player would have been defending, and Glendale go through. So actually, good play calling by Glendale to spot. Actually, you know what? They've just lost their left wing. What we need to do from this line out is not try and maul it overly, is to wrap around the front, because that's where the gap's going to be, and they went over. So good, intelligent play by Glendale to take themselves 38 points up, 38-7 up.
Well, as you alluded to a couple of times, I mean, the early returns seem to be that Glendale's fairly well coached. I mean, they clearly got a speech at the first water break that did some good. They played various patterns in various channels. And as you alluded to earlier, as long as they weren't dropping the ball, they played all of those patterns in all of those various channels to some success. So, we'll see the rest of the competition. But at least in the first game, it looked like one of the things that we learned is Glendale's pretty well coached.
Yes, but they just also have a bunch of hotheads who can't stop from tipping people over. Because that was kind of the story from about 48. So 48 minutes, we got our first red card for a tip tackle. Now, sorry, one of the fixtures game was there was no TMO, and there were at least 2 tries that probably would not have been given if there was a TMO, because in real time they looked like they got the ball down. Once you saw the replay, it was like, oh dear, he dropped that one.
Right.
And the players again, especially the Austin players, were like, "Is there no TMO?" And the referee's like, "No, there isn't. And there hasn't been a TMO for the past 60 minutes. So why are you still asking me for the TMO?"
Well, I mean, what's the worst thing you can say at that point? All I can keep telling you is telling you no. I mean, if he changes his mind and tells you yes, then you're in luck. You're about to save 5 points.
Well, true, but the players should know by then that there isn't a TMO, and there is definitely some not the sharpest tool in the block players on that pitch by the sounds of it, because they didn't pick up on the fact that there wasn't a TMO. There isn't one, guys. Stop asking for it. Get on and play, because you're just going to annoy the ref.
When there are the tipping tackles, and we're going to go have a discussion with the AR about whether or not we're going to send someone off. Gosh, it sure looked like that the officials were catching a peek at the replay board, at least on a couple of those occasions. So, if I've got officials looking at the replay board, I might start asking about TMOs too.
Maybe I'm being harsh then, but you're right. They did, yes. The referee did consult his assistant refs for all the tries, so that was good. They worked as a team, and he did consult the assistant ref for the tip tackles. And it was suspicious how that discussion took just long enough to see the replay, which was probably on the big screen in the ground. You're right. Yes. Okay. So there was that, but at that point, basically Honko started to get some space, and he showed us why. Well, at least on the commentary, that they call him the Terminator. He was bouncing players and making some good ground.
Yeah, Honko is a guy that's shown up on the Eagles in the last year plus, and has really gone straight to the front of the line in terms of starting and running on in the back row. He's, the try that he scored with the dummy where he outran, I think it was McGee over the last 20 meters, was pretty impressive. And look, if you can do that type of thing, there's room for you on the Eagles. And he's a promising young guy that a lot of people seem to like.
Yeah, no, I think that was a clever play by McGee on the grounds that I've got this big back rower running down the line here. I'm a small number 10, and we're winning the game 38-7. It's not a big deal if I miss this tackle, so I'm going to fall for the dummy and not get squashed. Now,
in our part of the world, we call those business decisions.
Yes, exactly. McGee decided that his life was more important than a few points, and he should have. That was a pretty blatant kind of typical backs play of I'm not tackling the big guy. They then bashed away and got themselves over for a try on 59 minutes, missed a penalty on 63, and they basically, and there's some comments on the Facebook live thing saying that Elite are trying to lose this game, and they just weren't composed enough, they weren't slick enough to make the points. You're playing up against, because there was a red card on 71 minutes and then a yellow on 73, so that's 3 players down, and you're still trying to bash it through the forwards. Come on, guys. There's going to be some space somewhere. You need someone with some heads up to look, because at the moment you keep running into players, and that's very amateur rugby, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. Again, this is the first that group of 15 guys that was out there playing have never been in a situation anything remotely like that before together. And you're right, they absolutely should be playing out wide when half the other team is sitting on the sideline. But I'm going to chalk that up to first game. First game, new competition. That's a learning experience, I guess, for Austin. They were probably, and I'm going to give them even further benefit of the doubt. They were going to lose that game anyway.
I mean, let's be fair. The Glendale Raptors are the favourites coming into this season. They're the only one that I confidently predicted in my round one predictions. The other 2 games I was pretty much guessing, but this one, to be fair, this one was the only one. And I was a bit worried early doors that I got it wrong, but no, the Glendale showed, as you say, that they're well coached, got through their phases, and scored the points. And Houston showed that they are a much newer outfit. I mean, Glendale's been one of the top clubs in the USA for the past 10, 15 years?
Yeah, Glendale's been around for a good long while. The Austin club, though, is an offshoot of the Huns. And the Huns have been around for a while and have been kind of growing towards this professional status over the last few years. So, I mean, that's an operation that has existed. And quite honestly, if you told me that this match was the final, assuming Austin can get some of their players back from injury, if you told me this match was going to be the final ultimately of the competition, I'd say there's a decent chance you're right.
Yeah, I think there's also, it seemed when they split from the Huns and became the Elite, it seemed that it wasn't entirely amicable. It looked like there was some issues going on there in the background. So I think not all the players came across, and they all had to be re-signed. I think also they weren't dominating the Texas League in the way that you'd expect. Sort of Glendale versus someone like Seattle Harlequins was probably your finals or your top 2 club teams. You weren't thinking of Austin Huns in that bracket the last couple of years, though.
No, that's true. But I'm just looking at the roster they've got now with Honko, with if Clever's serious about continuing to play, with the Suniula brothers, and I guess I'm banking a lot on the effectiveness of the forwards when they come back from injury. But they've got at least from a pure talent standpoint on paper, they've got a pretty solid group there. I think San Diego's got a pretty, I kind of put San Diego and Austin maybe in a group just below Glendale on paper. And I think those 3 teams, if there were a wager somewhere online, I'd probably take those 3 teams as getting the 2 finalists from there.
That's been interesting. Well, we'll have to have you back on towards the end of the season to definitely do that one if we haven't to review that that prediction. Yes, Glendale I think will be there. I'm just not sure. I don't know who's going to be with them. Seattle, unfortunately, have got their visa issues, so they've lost their head coach and one of their players. So hopefully that gets sorted out. There's kind of things that happen with new leagues. I mean, for those people who say, "Oh, that's not very professional," look at what's happened to a couple of the teams who tried to travel. Well, one of the, I've gone blank which one it was, one of the Super Rugby teams decided they didn't need certain injections to go to South Africa and had to fly via England to get their inoculations. And that's a country that's been, what we've had Super Rugby for the past 15, 20 years, whatever it is now, and they still mess up travel arrangements to South Africa. So yeah, you can expect there to be a few teething issues around things like that the Seattle are having to go through, Seattle Seawolves going through, unfortunately.
Yeah, we see it in baseball here too, so it's not completely, out of the ordinary. And well, we certainly don't want to touch politics on a rugby show, but certainly in America, immigration has become a hot button issue, and it's probably gotten a little bit tougher to get a visa today than it might have been a few years back.
Yeah, and I've got no idea how sporting visas work in the USA. And as you say, let's not go down that rabbit hole. But no, it's a very, very good point that actually that those sort of things will impact sport as well. But yeah, no, I think I've covered off on all the points that I wanted to cover. I'm not sure if they have try bonus points in this competition and which system they're using, whether it's four tries for a try bonus point or whether it's having to three clear tries more than the opposition.
That's a good question. I didn't get the memo on the TMOs, and I didn't get the memo on that either. So I'm not sure.
The Cuban Pete in the live chat goes, "I want to see a Sunwolves versus Seawolves exhibition match." Yes, the Wolves versus the Wolves. No, I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon.
Yeah, no.
It's good. We've had 2 games successfully happen. We've had a good. I was happy with the refereeing. It's only about 2 seasons ago that the Premiership Rugby, for example, had TMOs in all their games. So, and whilst it might seem a bit strange from us who have only watched, or for an audience that mainly watched international rugby, why aren't there TMOs? It's not unusual, to be honest, at this sort of level at club rugby to not have TMOs. So that should be fine, and people just need to get used to that and back to the good old days where we actually believed in the ref. But I think it's a great start to the league, and I'm looking forward to watching many more games.
Yeah, this format where it's sort of decentralized in the sense that you've got separate groups running each of the clubs, as opposed to what pro rugby looked like, and the fact that some of these clubs or some of these franchises have grown out of existing clubs, and you've got a lot of the Eagles participating. I mean, this is definitely the best shot that we've had in America to have a legitimate professional rugby competition. So on that level, man, you can't be anything but excited.
Yeah, and if we do diverge a bit from just being pure post-match reaction, we've also got New York, and I think I heard them say New York and Dallas are already signed up to join in next year. There's also a team in Canada as well. So this is very quickly going to grow from 7 to 10 plus teams. Yeah,
I mean, there's still some sort of traditional hotspots for rugby in the United States that haven't been included yet. I'm standing in one of them in Northern California. In the Northeast, in the Boston area, there's certainly a fair bit of rugby that gets played. So there's room for 15 or so teams, probably relatively quickly.
Do you think they'll stick with a single league format, or do you think we'll go down the conference route like a lot of American sports?
Ultimately, once you get probably to 12 or 14 teams, you're gonna see it split into 2 conferences. That's just how we seem to do things here.
That's going to be interesting because conferences have been, as you'll know, in Super Rugby and also in the Pro 14, have been very controversial in their application. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out in the States. Obviously, as you say, you guys are much more used to it, but it'll be interesting. So I think Simon reckons it's the French point system. So that's the bonus point for three or more tries more than the other. And, oh, geez, trying to run through my list. But that means that Glendale was probably in with a good shout, actually, of getting getting the try bonus point. But definitely, Austin missed out on any losing points in that one. And actually, do you think we're going to go down the route? Are we going to be calling them Glendale and Austin, or are we going to be calling them Raptors and Elite? Which way do we do it? What's the official way in America? Do you go the town or the?
There's no official way yet, but yeah, the common sort of phraseology is the town. So it'll around here it'll probably be Glendale and Austin versus what you see in Super Rugby, where you're referring to the Crusaders and the Highlanders, etc. USA should be a bit more competitive on the international stage in the coming years. With a pro comp to feed players, absolutely. And also, this is an opportunity for Gary Gold to have some control over his players and to see his players more often. He's not going to have to try and drag all his players in from around the world. He can have camps with all the players because 80% or 90% of his squad is going to be based out of the US now. So he can pull the players together for a camp. Whereas previously that wasn't possible. Happened to the Eagles, and it's not even close.
Yep.
I mean, between the fact that you've got a professional level comp that's playing on a regular basis, and guys are just getting more games in, and the fact that, as you say, that you're going to have a chance to have a lot of your guys based domestically as opposed to mainly in Europe, that's going to be phenomenal. This is the biggest thing that's ever happened to the Eagles, no question.
Cool. I look forward to talking a lot more about Major League Rugby with you during the season. So, Rob, why don't you let people know where they can chat to you about rugby away from between games?
All right. So the Twitter feed is Rugby North America. You plug that into your Twitter search engine, you're going to find me. I have a blog that I piddle around with called the Rugby Falcon. Type that into your Google or search or whatever search engine of choice that it is that you use. You'll find me that way. Yeah, that's it. Twitter and the blog. That's the places to find me.
And as always, I will put those links down below. So just both in YouTube and also on in the podcasting app. So just check out the notes for those links. I've been Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul. Always up for good rugby chats. Please give this the old thumbs up. Comments down below. That helps us reach more people. And also do subscribe. Red box down below, or my face will be there in the recording. There'll be a box there with my latest video. And obviously 5-star reviews on the old podcast, please, because other stars are available. But why would you want to do that? And enjoy whatever rugby you're watching.